Good morning, everyone. We're underway with unlocking canola's potential through innovation this morning, and I want to thank everyone for joining us to listen in from some to some experts this morning on innovation. Thanks, and I'll kick us off here with a few thoughts, and then we'll get into the heart of the conversation, which I'm really looking forward to this morning. So, welcome to everyone. First, of course, I want to acknowledge that we're gathered on Treaty 1 territory and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishin, forgive me, I'm still working on pronunciation, Anishinaabeg, Dakota Owete, Dene Sulin and Nan Owuk nations. Forgive me, I am practicing. We acknowledge that Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis and acknowledge that northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. So on behalf of Manitoba Agriculture and the Industry Development Branch, I'd like to welcome you to the webinar, formerly called Unlocking Canola's Potential Through Innovation. So during this session, we'll explore insights on current trends and the future direction of innovation in the canola sector. The webinar is being recorded, and a link to the video will be shared with all attendees in the coming days. Please submit your questions using the Q&A tab, and we'll do our best to include them in the discussion. If you're interested in this topic, we'll also encourage you to register for the 5th Manitoba Sustainable Protein Research Symposium, taking place on July 7th, 2025 in Winnipeg. Just a few weeks from now, it's an excellent opportunity for researchers and industry members to explore collaboration in research and innovation. A registration link will be included in the follow-up email containing the webinar recording. So maybe to kick us off, I'll just maybe speak a little bit about myself. I'm Delaney Ross Burtnack, Executive Director of the Manitoba Canola Growers Association. And part of my reason and excitement for being here is our commitment to innovation. We are always looking for ways to improve the experience of growing canola and producing either current or new exciting and valuable canola products for farmers. And working closely with partners in the industry to make sure that everyone in the value chain has an opportunity to contribute something related to innovation in canola. Any benefit in the value chain ideally comes back to supporting the sustainability and productivity of farmers. So for Manitoba canola growers, we of course invest in research. This is one of our pillars of existing and investing over $1 million in recent years into various projects related, including one of our panelists here today. And looking for not just new ways to ensure that canola quality and productivity is maintained and done in a way that continues to reduce the footprint of production of canola, but also finding new markets. We've been involved in introducing it in biofuel. We've introduced a new campaign called Hello Canola. This is in collaboration across the nation with our partners in Alberta and Saskatchewan as well, trying to build greater understanding amongst consumers of just how many ways canola and canola products show up in our lives, in pet food, in cosmetics, in biofuels, in industrial uses, and of course, canola oil, which many of us are familiar with for healthy salad dressings, as well as a healthier choice for fried foods. So I'm looking forward to today, hoping I might even learn something about what's coming down the pipeline for canola and what's next for us to invest in. So I'll keep it short in terms of my perspective. And what I'd like to do is introduce our speakers and give them an opportunity to speak a little bit to their perspective, their role, and how they relate to innovation in canola. So this morning we're going to start, and I'll give each of you a chance to have a few minutes here, kind of 5 to 10 minutes to present. And we're going to start with Stephen Robbins, who is the Director of Product Development and Innovation with Richardson International. So, Stephen, if you could kick us off.
No, sounds great. Thanks, Delaney. I'll start off here. Just give everybody a little bit of a background on Richardson if you're not familiar with us. So Richardson is one of Canada's largest agribusinesses. We are headquartered in Winnipeg here, and we've got about 3,500 employees worldwide. Being an agri-food business, our business started in the handling of agricultural commodities. So canola, wheat, oats, barley. We ha handle a variety of these commodities through our network of elevators. Some of those commodities we send to our processing sites where we will process them ourselves domestically for food or feed products. And then a large amount of that also gets exported through our terminal sites. So in Canadian agriculture, the first step after the farmer has grown the crop is to bring it to one of these elevators. Most people have probably seen these along the highway. So we will work directly with farmers to source their crops and bring them into our elevators, where they'll be put into the Canadian rail network, and then either be sent for export or else be sent to one of our food processing facilities. So different sites handle different grains depending on grains and oilseeds, depending on what location that they are. With wheat and canola being probably the most significant ones that go through our facilities. So from there, in the case of canola specifically, we will send a good portion of what we handle through to our two different crush plants. So we have one located in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, and that's the picture that's shown there. This has recently gone through an upgrade, and it is one of the largest canola crush plants, if not the largest in the world. And then we also have another one in Lethbridge, Alberta as well. Our total canola processing capacity is just a little bit over 3.2 million metric tons per year of canola seed that goes through these facilities. Uh, Half of that is going out as meal, most of which we'll export, and then the other half will be coming out as oil, and that'll get moved to a variety of different markets. Biodiesel has become a larger portion in recent years, but the majority of it still goes to food manufacturing. Whether it goes to our further value-added facilities, which I'll talk about next, or else going to various food manufacturers, whether they're making things such as potato chips, French fries, any sort of snack food or bakery sector. So Rich's Food Ingredients is kind of the next level of our kind of vertical integration. So we have a couple facilities in Lethbridge, Alberta, Oakville, Ontario, and then Memphis, Tennessee, where we manufacture different canola-based oils, margins and shortenings, which are intended for a variety of different marketplaces, including retail, food service, food manufacturing, and a large portion going to industrial bakeries. So we have a variety of capabilities, and we participate in different packaging sizes and supply. And you'll see our products on most grocery store shelves, whether it's being used as an ingredient or whether it's something that we manufacture for retail ourselves. I myself am based in Winnipeg here at the Richardson Innovation Center. So this is a new facility that we finished up about 5 years ago. It was a $300 million investment, and it's kind of a world-class kind of research and development facility. We've got a variety of kind of capabilities here, including test kitchens, pilot facilities, as well as laboratories for doing a variety of work. Everything from testing raw seed through to testing the canola oil, and then all the way through to doing our product development work for new oil, margarine, and shortening products. So that's kind of rich in a nutshell. So I've got a little bit of the perspective both from food, but then also through the kind of the seed development and the actual kind of crushing and extraction of the oil. So I look forward to talking a little bit more about these topics.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. We'll roll right into Kevin Segal. Go ahead.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Delaney, and thank you, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to participate in the discussion today and tell you a little bit about Burcon Nutriscience. So, sorry, one second. Okay, so just a quick look at our safe harbor statement before we get to the meat of the presentation. So here we go. First, an introduction to Burcon. So for those of you who are not familiar with Burcon, our business is the development and production of purified plant protein food ingredients. We have a technical center in Winnipeg and a production facility in Galesburg, Illinois. So in addition to producing a canola protein isolate ingredient, we've also developed and have plant protein ingredients from soy, pea, sunflower, and other commodities. We've been around for over 20 years, and what distinguishes our protein ingredients is the very high purity. We have isolates from all these commodities, over 90% protein on a dry basis. The products of excellent functionality, taste, texture, and color. Just to give you a very brief overview of how we purify our protein products. We use a wet process. So for canola, you would mix the canola meal with a water-based solution, and then we use a proprietary filtration step in our process to separate the proteins from other impurities in the material. And then the purified canola protein would be spray dried. So the final product we're producing is actually a protein powder. Looking more specifically at the canola protein isolate that we produce, it's called Pureteen C. As I mentioned, it's over 90% protein on a dry basis, highly functional, and a neutral flavor with a mild sweet note. Nutritional profile is excellent with the PTCAS1, and it's rich in sulfur-containing amino acids, which makes it which is a good thing, and it makes it complementary to pulses like pea protein, which are deficient or a little bit deficient in sulfur-containing amino acids. So there's an opportunity to blend these different protein types together. And some of the features of our product is that it's made from non-GMO canola. It's a gluten-free product, and we are using cold press solvent-free canola meal to produce this. And in terms of the types of foods that this Pureteen C product can be used in, given it's highly soluble, it's got some foaming characteristics, gelling, a variety of good functional properties which allow it to be used in these and other applications. So here we're just showing some beverage applications, ready to mix powders or ready to drink beverages, dairy alternative products, bars where the specific functionality of low water binding and other properties reduce the amount of bar hardening that may be seen in products. And also the functionality is similar to egg, so there's egg replacement opportunities. So in terms of innovation, I would say that the key things that are relevant to us are the getting as much protein out of the meal as possible, how we purify it, the properties of the products we generate, and then the food uses. So I'm just going to take 1 minute to talk about our strategy for how we deal with innovation. So we have a very patent-heavy approach. We try and obtain patents on our innovations. Right now, we currently have 50 patents overall issued in the US, 91 total, and 76 pending applications. And of the 91 issued patents, 37 are specific to canola. So as I mentioned, the strategy of the patenting is to try and cover those features that I mentioned, the processing, the specific characteristics of the proteins, and then the food applications. And I just want to mention that a patent approach is a dynamic, you have to have a dynamic approach to it, constantly looking at where you could trim something that was of high value at one point, and over the years, perhaps you're not as interested in, and that allows you to have room to patent your new innovations and developing technologies. So thank you. Looking forward to the discussion.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Excellent. We'll move right into Nandika. Bandera, please.
Thank you very much. So in my research group, I'm academic researcher at the University of Manitoba. So I'm currently holding a Canada Research Chair position in food, protein, and bioproducts. So I have a pretty, I would say, a good sized research group with 22 trainees in the group right now. So we're not only working on the, let's say, canola, but our approach for the Canada Research Chair program is in three main areas. The first one is on protein ingredient development. So just like Kevin mentioned, we do work on developing new and sustainable extraction technologies for protein ingredient development, including canola. So we work on canola and other oil seeds and some pulse crops. So some of the technologies we worked on so far called deep reductive solvent, where we can actually get a very high pure protein with minimum denaturation. And then we worked on another new salt-based extraction system where we try to apply for IP right because that one works really well and even produce protein from sunflower and hemp, not only from canola, but without getting that color. So we can produce very mild color, like off-white color protein ingredients. So the protein ingredient processing and functionality improvement is one of the area that we work on in our research group. The second area is that we are working on is related to the protein for health. So again, canola is one of the cornerstones. So because we do work on canola a lot, maybe because of the background that I have on my PhD on canola protein. So with this one, we worked on nanoencapsulation of drug molecules and for bioactive encapsulation, mostly trying to use the protein, especially canola and other proteins for high value applications. So that's the second area that we worked in our research group. The third research theme that we have, I would say, or the most preferred theme of mine out of all of them is related to the value-added application of canola meal. And in this case, we do work on cold pressed canola meal, especially for the protein ingredient development, but we are mostly working on the commercial, like hexane extracted canola meal, because that's the biggest market, like output coming from the canola crushing plants. So, and it comes with like denatured protein. So most of the time applications are going into the animal feeding and some other like a little bit into the aquaculture. So we try to get that protein and develop, let's say, a little bit higher value added applications. So one of the projects that Delaney mentioned that we actually got funding from Manitoba canola growers as well is working on packaging materials from canola. So one of the things we observe is with this canola protein-based packaging, especially when we work with something like using nanomaterials, like renewable nanomaterials, like nanocellulose to improve the material properties, we can actually develop canola packaging materials with a really good strength and a flexibility, which is one of the biggest concerns with the packaging materials, biopolymer-based packaging material. And the other thing we did was we worked with graphite oxide, another nanomaterial, and worked with canola protein. And when it comes to biopolymer-based packaging, the main issue, in addition to their strength and other thing, is related with their oxygen barrier properties or the barrier properties. So with the nanomaterial incorporation, we actually developed some of the packaging materials, which goes up to like reducing the barrier properties up to 600 times. So that's a pretty good, like in terms of improving the barrier properties. So right now we kind of scale that project into see whether that can produce in the industrial setting. So I don't have the access to the facilities, but we did some of the collaborative research work with the University of Waterloo to do the extrusion molding for this canola-based packaging material to see whether we can scale up that technology that we develop in the lab into the other area. So we not only work on the canola protein part, but we basically work on the canola, the entire canola meal, especially coming after the hexane extraction. So some of the other research that we worked related with breaking down the canola meal into cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, where we can use the lignin as a platform chemical for other products. Cellulose, of course, to produce nanocellulose, where we use in the packaging materials, and hemicellulose for some of the other platform chemicals as well. And we use these fractions that we break down from the canola meal in wood adhesives and bio-based plastic materials. So that's the approach that we have right now in terms of doing some of the research work related to canola. In addition to this, we do work on some of the other areas as well, especially like with a recent project that we got from Prairies, Canada. We use the canola meal to produce cellular agriculture input. So this directly relates with what Delaney mentioned about enhancing the market opportunities, because cellular agriculture is a big opportunity in Canada right now. And most of the amino acid sources they use for the cellular agriculture comes from the animal sources. So we have a project right now with 10 other partners across Canada, funded by Prairies Canada, to work on developing cellular agriculture inputs, especially amino acids from canola meal, so we can use them into like another value-added application, mainly for protein production. So those are some of the research areas that we have in our research group related to canola. Not related to canola, we have a bunch of other projects, but then I'll stick with the canola related things for this one. So happy to join with the discussion afterwards.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Nandika, and thanks to you all for setting our baseline for who we're chatting with this morning. So this is great. So maybe I'll just get us started then with a handful of questions, and I'll open it up to the audience as well, and remind you that the Q&A button is there for you to put your questions in. I'll be bringing those questions forward, and thanks so much in the background to Louise to giving us a hand to get those questions forward. So make sure that you bring in your questions, and we'll do our best to address them this morning. So I'll get us started with a couple while we wait for everybody to engage here. So this will be to everybody, kind of across the board here. What does innovation look like today in the canola sector from your various perspectives? And have you seen a shift in how innovation is being developed in recent years? So maybe Nandika, I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So
Mhm.
this is something that I have seen a major shift, because I think both Stephen and Kevin would agree, like in the past, canola innovations were primarily focused on the oil, which is the main income source. But at the same time, like protein, like Kevin and Berkeley Nutrascience, like they're working on some of the protein ingredient production, but mostly from the cold pressed canola meal. But in the past few years, I think there is a big shift in using commercially available solvent extracted canola meal, at least at the research stage. But some of these innovations has moved to the market as well. For example, using the canola protein and other material for adhesive applications. So we have done some research on wood adhesives as well, but there is a company in France called Avril, one of the big oilseed processing industries. They actually commercialized one of the canola protein-based wood adhesive. So that's something that I have seen that came to the market recently. And to indicating like what we were always like trying to communicate to the producers as well as to the farmers, that canola is not just the oil and protein, right? Like you can develop value-added applications, and that wood adhesive coming from Avril is a good example that it can actually go up to the commercial level as well. The other thing that I have seen is, especially with Canadian funding agencies, there is a big demand. For example, the recent the Natural Science and Engineering Research Council Sustainable Agriculture Research Initiative. They did fund one of the project on canola, which is headed by, I'm part of the, like one of the co-applicant, which led by University of Queens, Dr. Kevin DeFrance. So we received almost $3.2 million to work on canola meal for cellular agriculture applications, packaging, adhesives, and even nano delivery. So this is a big investment on that area. The other project I mentioned with Prairies Canada, which was specifically focused on cellular agriculture. So these are some of the areas that we have seen that increase in the research investment. I think it would be a good idea to like continue that one, because, for example, Kevin and then Berkeley Nutrascience, they do have like commercialized canola protein. So it's not just a protein. So if we can use the other components and then develop commercial products, that would be something that increase the value for farmers as well as for the processors. So I think
Yeah.
both Kevin and Stephen can add to that. So I'll start from there.
That's great. Thank you so much, Hanjika. Yeah, and I would agree. That's what I'm seeing as well in the industry, that especially as we start diversifying, where we're getting into these biofuel products and like increased uses where the oil is being utilized, production is increasing, and now there's this meal component that has value, right? It goes into the livestock sector. It increases. I even just saw another a recent announcement that it increases milk production by 1 liter per cow per day when you include canola meal in the livestock feed. Great opportunities there, but there's more. And I think this is what we're finding in the sector, that how do we unlock the bigger opportunities for these? Excellent. Kevin, I see you've unmuted. Please go ahead.
Sure. I was just going to add that from our perspective, well, canola protein is relatively new to the market as a food ingredient compared to some other
Mhm.
types of plant proteins that have been out there longer. So we're excited to see how food companies are utilizing the canola protein and the innovations they're showing in the products they're developing.
Excellent. Can I ask you, Kevin, tell us a little bit more about like where's the like global diversity of the protein that you're working? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but I'm assuming these products are of interest around the world.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like North
I mean,
America, Europe. I know I'm putting you on the spot with a side question here, but I was just curious, like you have
yeah,
far-reaching customers.
we're preparing a product with canola and producing in North America, but the interest we've seen is from around the world.
Excellent. Yeah, like we, for example, we're connected with some groups in the UK looking for protein work in Europe and in Poland, and I imagine there's going to be some big opportunity overseas for Burcon to continue to build on that. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Excellent. Steve, did you want to chime in here?
Yeah, I'll add just a couple comments. I know one thing that I know I'm particularly excited about is some of the developments in the different seed varieties as well. Historically, there's two varieties of canola. You have your conventional and then your high oleic. And historically, the high oleic has been lower yielding, a little tougher to get farmers to grow. But the oil itself is quite valuable because it's more stable, more useful in more higher heat applications, longer shelf life to food products that it's used in. But in recent years, there's been more varieties of these high lake seeds come out, and they're closing the gap between high lake seeds and the conventional varieties. And eventually, we might get to the point where there's where the availability is growing on high lake oil, and then we'll be able to use it in more things. So there won't be that premium anymore, which will make it a little bit more cost effective as far as a food ingredient, which will just make things will open up a lot of opportunities for different applications where historically it's not been the ingredient of choice strictly based upon the cost of it.
hmm Oh, that sounds great. And I think we're kind of dovetailing into the next question here, but I feel like there's maybe more to unpack. Um, so the next question was about like the most promising innovations or market trends that we're seeing. Um, Stephen, if I could go back to you to kind of build on that. So, like, what more are you seeing in terms of market trends, or is there something that we haven't brought up yet in terms of promising innovations around canola that are things to watch for or tap into?
Yeah, so like I think the uh a lot of the where we're seeing the potential is around kind of those characteristics of canola which just make it really good in the first place. So health profile has always been good,
Mhm.
has always been one of kind of the top oils. And then just functionality has typically been pretty good just due to light flavor profile and color. So you can kind of use it in a lot of different food products without causing any sort of kind of negative impact to those particular foods. And like certainly from a health perspective, there's been with changes as far as front of pack labeling, where people have to call out things like
Mhm.
saturated fat. That's been a big incentive for food manufacturers to look at, okay, what are the ways that we can potentially lower the saturated fat? And you've got people that are kind of looking at canola oil in a way that they haven't really before, just because of that particular fat profile. But then I also think like you taking the oil itself like from an innovation standpoint, and then being able to use it in different food products like high heat. Like we ourselves we've put into granola that's going through a bake process and it's getting packaged and it has to have a certain shelf life associated with it. And we see huge improvement by using these type of oils and just makes a better granola and kind of opens up more flexibility as far as what else is getting included in that formula. So it's so those are kind of the opportunities that we're seeing. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Steve. Nantika, I see you're ready to go. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So I think the other thing, like since both Stephen and Kevin would stay with the food side, I'll stay on the other side, like let's say the meal and the other value-added components. So one of the other thing that I have seen is there is a big interest on the fermentation, especially using the canola meal for protein ingredient production, not necessarily from the extracting protein itself. But there are some research happening in South Dakota State University and even in the University of Saskatchewan to ferment the canola meal through certain fungal strains and then produce fungal proteins. I know there are a couple of startup companies, especially in Calgary, based out of Calgary, Pharma and few other companies. They're trying to use some of these both pulse and oilseed meals in order to like produce protein. So that's another opportunity research-wise, because most of the innovations that we see in our capacities in the research scale, and I'm pretty sure that both Kevin and Stephen can talk to some of the commercial applications, but this fermentation would be a big thing because if you look at the university research directions, almost every university is starting a research line on fermentation. Like for example, University of Guelph, Calgary, as University of Alberta, and then even UBC, like they have people working on fermentation, especially trying to use biomass, lignocellulosic biomass, most of the waste material. So these are some of the good opportunities that can develop diversified applications for the canola meal, which goes back right into the value-added product. So that's something I believe would be useful in the future. So I'm really excited to see some of these like applications, especially in the like new research and innovation, which create new market opportunities.
That's exciting. I wasn't aware of that one, and that makes a lot of sense. Make you like using it as the substrate to produce another type of protein. Yeah, that's amazing how it can build on it. That's great. Kevin, did you want to add anything there?
Sure, just a brief comment that
Hmm.
I think generally there's an increasing interest in plant proteins, and so I think that's
Hmm.
helping drive interest in canola as well as the specific functionality and other benefits that food companies can obtain using the canola.
Agreed. That's great. Excellent. So I do see some questions coming in here on the Q&A. So maybe I will just take a first question here. So Asay Jabarte, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Uh, thanks you all for the informative intros and has a question. From your organization's perspective, what are the biggest challenges and opportunities when it comes to aligning sustainability goals with commercial innovation in the canola sector? This is a big one. Lots of regulations, targets, the idealistic goals, and very specific intent coming from sustainability, and that can be a real challenge in aligning that with this commercial opportunity for innovation. Anyone want to kick us off with that one? Biggest challenges aligning sustainability with commercial innovation.
I can take a bit of a stab at
Yeah,
that
go ahead,
one as
Steve.
a starting place. So I think there's a lot of things they're being done in the industry today just for improved sustainability, and a lot of that is
Hmm.
actually kind of starting back at the farm. So I think
Hmm.
like fertilizer is obviously a significant contributor to the CO2 uh, that's associated with any given commodity because of just through its use. And I think there's been a lot of development and understanding in the last few years as far as understanding um, uh, being able to essentially reduce fertilizer usage to a certain degree, based upon basically using the right type of fertilizer, applying it at the correct rate, putting it on the correct crop, correct time of year.
Hmm.
And I think we're seeing, like I know we ourselves have seen a big shift for the number of acres where farmers are actually are actually kind of taking this approach, and I think that's kind of been a big shift. So we're seeing great improvement, at least from that standpoint, as far as the sustainability of well, really all Western crops, but canola included as well. Certainly, I know like there's always constantly looking at ways how can we reduce energy usage in facilities as well, right? So how do you obviously there's a lot of high heat, high steam usage used in the process of refining canola oil. And there's been lots of technologies that have come out that have basically allowed us to produce the same amount of canola oil with significantly less energy than what we have before. So I think it's going to be a continuous road, kind of continuous improvement. I'm sure new technologies will continue to be implemented that will allow kind of even reduced or improved sustainability and reduced kind of greenhouse gas production. And it is going to be a continuous road for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Steve. And I totally agree. It's a continuous road and has been like we've been traveling this road a long time too, right? This isn't just we're not just laying down the gravel to move on to pavement to really start a highway here. The farmers have been focused on sustainability always. That's part of being in a generational business that you're not just thinking about how to get the most out of it today and forget tomorrow. You have to be thinking about what's going to happen 10, 20, 50 years from now if you want to be able to hand this farm down the line. So go ahead, Kevin. What would you add to that?
Sure. I was just going to say, like, being in the plant protein business, sustainability is obviously a important factor for Burcon.
Hmm.
So we've uh, had to keep an eye on those kind of uh, sustainability concerns in developing the process. And so we're using an aqueous-based process and trying to address sustainability. We keep an eye on it in developing our technology.
Yes. Excellent. Nandika, what would you
Yeah.
add there?
So, in terms of the sustainability, like I think, just like Kevin mentioned, most of the technologies that we try to develop for ingredient production and even like some of the other value-added application, sustainability is one of the key focus. For example, when we work on bio-based adhesives and bio-based plastic, the overall idea is reducing the greenhouse gas emission because they're trying to replace some of the synthetic plastics, right? So that's
Hmm.
one aspect of it. At the same time, even for some of our own protein ingredient production, the technologies that we focus is with a special interest on reducing wastewater as well as reducing the other chemical generation during the production. So sustainability, even at research stage, is something big that we are monitoring. And I just want to add something to what Stephen mentioned about the fertilizer usage. So not just like reducing the use of fertilizer, there is a big interest on polymer coated fertilizers to reduce like at a slower rate. I know like especially at University of Waterloo, there are some research happening because most of the polymer coated fertilizers use synthetic polymers, which ended up in the soil. So right now there is a big interest on developing polymer coated fertilizers, which will release at a slower rate, but using biopolymers, which will not have that impact of, let's say, using a synthetic polymer. So those are some of the other areas where sustainability is considered in like a huge way to reduce some of the impact to the environment, even related to that fertilizer. So.
That is awesome. See, this is what I was excited about. I'm like, what's the new thing that I don't know yet? Because that's cool. So the coated fertilizers, I mean, this is a huge portion of sustainability, right? Is how to ensure that the fertilizer stays where it's meant to be And like Steve was saying, that it gets where it's intended to go. It needs to go in the plant. It doesn't stay in the soil. It doesn't, disappear from the soil, either through the air or through the water. And coating them is one way to manage that. And like finding a purpose with a biopolymer coating, it's like double bonus there. Where you're providing a more sustainable coating for a more sustainable fertilizer formulation. That's fantastic. Very exciting. I'll maybe continue to build on this, like the trends that are shaping innovation. So we talked a little bit about sustainability, but feel free to build on that. We even started to touch on health conscious consumers and this idea of, plant-based focus. There's even digital transformation happen now, and we might dig into that a little bit further. But what are some of these other global trends that you're seeing that are shaping innovation, either that you're seeing more broadly or within your organization that, say X number of years ago, we weren't really thinking about it, but now in consumers or markets across the world, it's driving us in a different direction. Anybody want to kick in on that? Maybe Kevin, why don't you
Sure,
start
I
that
can
off? You were
start.
talking about plants. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of touched on the sustainability issue before,
Mm-hmm.
but so I'll talk more about the health conscious consumer and that
Mm-hmm.
aspect. So, um, protein is I guess a popular or hot trend. High protein foods is a trend, and food manufacturers are often looking to see how much protein they can include in a serving of their food. So, obviously, as a protein provider, that's a very exciting opportunity for us to formulate not just new products, but products that deliver a good amount of protein.
Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe. Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Steve. You go ahead, actually, and then I'll add in a question that someone had asked her. So go ahead, Steve.
oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think I kind of agree with what Kevin's saying. Like protein is such a big trend nowadays in the food industry. So wherever
Mm-hmm.
you can get it from, and people are getting, I think, a little more sophisticated as well when you're looking at things like the digestibility scores and things like that as
Mm-hmm.
well. And then I from my side, I'll talk a little. I could talk all day, but I'll try to keep it brief on because health conscious. When it comes to fats and oils, I find it very it's a struggle to know what consumers are thinking because there's kind of what the health science says. There's perception. There's influencers kind of as part of that. So like on one hand, you've got people that are looking at reducing saturated fat and the health, replacing polyunsaturated fat with or replacing saturated fat with polyunsaturated fat. Studies kind of consistently show there's benefit there. So, you've got a good story there, and especially with some of the um, kind of government kind of labeling requirements on saturated fat. I kind of touched about it before, but
Mm-hmm.
government labeling requirements. There is a trend for people to try to reduce the saturated fat. And then you have the other piece where you've got the kind of perspective, I want to say, where you've got influencers, different kind of organizations that are looking at calling out negativity towards to GMO GM crops, which the majority of canola is kind of fits into that category.
Mm-hmm.
Last 2 years, this seed oil kind of dirty word that's been popping up. So there's challenging making sure that we get the right message out there, particularly when you start talking about things like the seed oils, where a good number of the concerns around that aren't necessarily founded, and making sure that you get the right make sure you get the message out there in the right way that's kind of meaningful to people, and making sure that the right that the science is what should really prevail at the end of the day, not necessarily what someone with whatever podcast kind of comes up with. So if anybody knows what I'm talking about there.
Agreed, agreed. Yes, the science shouldn't be based on how many followers you have.
Yeah.
I have to agree. Nandika, go ahead.
No, I was just smiling at like when Kevin mentioned this one because I think the seed oil comment that came in like that popping up everywhere, including the Maha report, if you follow that one that came in US,
Mm,
right? So this is more of a comment plus a question back to like Stephen, because with the report that came out of US that make America healthy again, and then saying that seed oil, calling out seed oil literally, right? And then all the other like social media influencers who saying, okay, like you shouldn't eat seed oil. I think science should be the approach, but then as an industry, it's like, how do you actually approach this one? Because we do research and we disseminate knowledge and we can address some of these issues at the, like, let's say, awareness level. But as industry, it's like, I'm really curious to know, like, how you address these issues, especially this misinformation and some of the other things coming up. Sorry, I took your spot on asking a question.
That's
So,
all good. I might even answer it myself, Najika. That's a good question. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, and I have to admit we're probably still reeling a little bit because this popped up so quickly, kind of almost out of nowhere. Because like
Hmm.
I've looked on Google Trends and like I had never heard this term seed oils until about less than 2 years ago, and I had to
That's
look at
right.
Google Trends, and neither had Google Trends for practical purposes, right? So the main thing like that kind of our approach is when like we make sure that we equip our salespeople with kind of the facts as far as what's true and what isn't true. And then making sure that kind of they understand. We certainly have a marketing group that tries to get out there the benefits of canola and kind of addresses for instance, like if like on if on say our Wesson website, if someone says something about the negativity around canola oil because this doesn't work, like we address that and we do it honestly and we keep those posts up there. But I think there's more to be done because I think even just from like there almost needs to be a little bit of a industry strategy because like if you like I think because you have to hold people's interests and you have to make sure that those facts are being delivered in a way that they are interesting and like there's actually the odd I've seen the odd social media influencer kind of thing that does this in a positive way towards things like seed oils and so on and so forth and actually brings the facts across, but it's 1 out of 20 that's pushing it the one way versus pushing it the other. So I think there's a lot still to be done to answer your question. Like we're we're not there yet, but we're still we've got a few kind of minor approaches, but I think there's still a lot more that we need to figure out on this. Yeah.
Totally, totally agree, Steve. Yeah, and if I could, maybe speak a little bit more about the Hello Canola campaign that I kind of referenced in the beginning. HelloCanola.ca is a website that it backs the program that the canola farmers have put together to help bring information forward to consumers, to regulators, to the industry, to the general public, with by delivering, like you're saying, Steve, the delivering the facts, but in a way that's engaging, because firing a graph at somebody or arguing with them over a point of whether coconut oil or and not to call out any particular thing, I'm just picking one coconut oil is more healthy than whatever other oil you're going to put there, including canola. That's you're not going to win that argument. It's an emotional argument that social media has also contributed to shaping people's perspective, thanks to the algorithm that says, "Oh, you're interested in this thing? Perfect. Here's 700 other." Examples of that thing that you think you're interested in. And now, if your initial question, whether it was based in, scientific background or data or not, you've got enough information to believe in your mind that this thing is truth. And so it's a really complicated situation now, I would say, compared to, 25 years ago in the communications industry where I came from, that we were in print and you could trust that the whatever publication that is governed by the right regulators would tell you the truth in their publication because they can't just make things up. And social media is a different world now where it's not everything on social media is genuine or based in fact or science, and there's just so much opinion that is being taken as fact, and it's complicated. Mantika, go ahead.
If I may add one thing to that, I think like you
Please.
mentioned briefly when you talk about the Hello Canola campaign, I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the biggest issue, not just in the innovation related to canola, I think
Mm-hmm.
as researchers, even we are doing a poor job in communicating the facts because most of the time scientists, like we focus on the graphs, figures, or like putting it in a presentation. I mean, that's how the standard knowledge dissemination happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think like as researchers, when it comes to the innovation, we should do a better job as well in terms of getting this information to the general public about like the new innovation related to canola, the health properties, what are the new opportunities we have in a more engaging way. So I'm really glad that Hello Canola is already doing it related to the oil. But even with the plant protein, I think plant protein industry is doing a pretty good job. But if you really want to address some of those like the social media narratives, uh, literally driven by the like number of followers and how many views you can get, not necessarily about the facts. I think like the scientists should be equipped and the industry should be equipped better to address those things in the same way as well. I'm saying that even for me, like I should do a better job in terms of how we communicate that because most of the new generation, they'll take the information in different ways, unlike those printed materials, right? So I think that's
Yes.
something that we need to, along with the innovation, that communication of the innovation should be a big part of the thing that we need to focus on.
Absolutely agree, Nandika. That's yeah, that I agree. It's a challenge for all of us to speak to, what we know in the industry. I assume everybody on this industry or on this call is in this industry, and will have deep and truthful insight into what goes on in agriculture. And it's really the challenge for us as individuals to ensure that people know what we do and why. So excellent. So we're getting close to the end of our call, and I want to make sure that we touch on a few of the questions that are coming up in the Q&A from our attendees. So just maybe a few probably fairly straightforward questions. Um, so this one, I wonder, this is probably for Steve and or Kevin. But Dave Barton was asking if you had any challenges in marketing the canola protein with regards to possible allergen effects related to mustard as a brassica. Have either of you come across this yet?
Um, yes, there are certain regulations in Canada and Europe that specify a product containing canola protein should be labeled with a warning to those that it may uh, cause a reaction for people who are allergic to mustard. So yes, we're
Okay.
aware.
So yeah, so it's dealt with through the
Yeah,
label, just to advise
yeah.
that okay, great. And I think that probably answers it, but Steve or Nandika, would you add anything? You're good. Okay, perfect. Excellent. And then Madupe Okunlola, I hope I pronounced that correctly, said with growing demand for plant-based proteins, how is the industry preparing to meet evolving market needs? So we've kind of touched on the health conscious consumer, but is there something further to add in terms of how evolving market needs are perhaps redirecting the work that you're doing? And it sounds like specifically in the plant-based protein area. Anything further to add there?
Sure, I can
Go
comment on
ahead,
that.
Kevin.
I would
Yeah.
say the way we approach it is we have our suite of plant protein ingredients that offer some different functionalities, different attributes that can be food manufacturers can choose the protein ingredient to tailor to meet their needs.
Great. Excellent. Anything else to add?
Yeah, I think like even
Go
at the
ahead,
research
Nantika.
level, that's primarily what we do because you're not going to find like one plant protein that fits like all the food products, right? So even when we work on different crops, not just on oilseeds, but pulses and other even fungal proteins, we try to find that, let's say, different functionality or specific functionality that can address a specific food need. I'm pretty sure that's what like work on and all the other protein processes do at the commercial level, as Kevin mentioned. So.
Great. Excellent. Um, so this question from Abby is for you, Steve. You talked about improving the fat profile of canola. And Abby was asking, is this specific to certain varieties or all varieties? And is there a novel processing technique being developed to further enhance the fatty acid profile? Or were you talking more about genetic differences?
Most of this is being done at the genetic level, so this
Mm-hmm.
isn't something that's related to processing. So there's really just like there's two main types of canola out there. So you've got conventional, and then you have the high oleic, low linolenic varieties. There's a little bit of variation within each category, but for the most part, the fatty acid profile of each type is very similar. Two varieties within that same type. So the high lake variety is high lake low linolenic. It's a little bit more stable, a little bit better for high heat, long shelf life type applications. The conventional canola is typically what you see if you buy it at retail. And that has your higher levels of linolenic, or maybe your traditional levels of linolenic, kind of in that 8% fat. But from a processing standpoint, they're done the same way. It's put through all the exact same equipment, and it's just a matter of it's just the seed is kept segregated from the farm gate all the way through until the oil, and that's also kept segregated as well.
Very good. Okay, thanks so much, Steve. I see we are getting close to time, but there is one question that I would very much like to ask before we kind of wrap up for the morning. And it's about emerging technologies. Everywhere I am coming across things like AI and precision, production and the technology that's supporting that. Are there emerging technologies like AI, precision agriculture, precision fermentation, or other technology that you see shaping the future of canola-based products? I'll let anyone jump in. Go ahead, Steve. Kick us off.
Yeah, I apologize because I know there's different people within Richardson that could speak for this a lot better than me. But the precision agriculture, I think, is gonna change the industry as time goes on. I mean,
Hmm.
I've like there's different, as far as like fertilizer, pesticide application, even heard talk about using drones to target individual weeds in the crop, things like that.
Hmm.
So I think like the industry is just going to continue to kind of evolve and change from that standpoint. But I think I'm not sure if I could say that I know how it's going to change. I do know it's going to change. These like AI and all these other things are going to affect how food's being manufactured. It's going to affect how seed is being grown and handled. And I'm not sure if everybody, or if I'm not sure if anybody knows exactly what's going to happen over the next few years. But I know that those things will be a factor for sure.
Agreed. Nantika, what are your thoughts?
I mean, at the research level, the use of AI is becoming more and more common, especially like not just the AI, but like using data science, like and machine learning to do the data analysis
Hmm.
for us. So there are areas where we use it at the research level, but as Stephen mentioned, like those precision technologies, I know like there are some researchers even at the University of Manitoba who's doing exactly what you mentioned using like specific site-specific weedicide applications using drones. So those technologies will change how we do the farming and how we collect information about like even harvesting and then like harvesting stages. So it's going to change how we do the agriculture. I think some countries are far ahead in using these technologies compared to Canada. But Canada is getting there as well using these technologies. So
Excellent. Thanks, Nantika. Kevin, any thoughts to add there?
No, I think Stephen and Andy covered that well.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Well, thank you all. I know we still have questions. I feel like I could continue talking for another hour, I'm sure. But I do want to respect everyone's time. So just a few thoughts to maybe wrap us up this morning because there's just such exciting opportunity that I see coming out of canola and the innovation and just a few examples on our panel today of where innovation is happening in canola. I heard Steve talk about that we've got one of the largest crush plants potentially in the world right next door, and that's a major opportunity for value-added benefits in Canada. Kevin talked about us being the Burcon is an innovation leader in plant-based proteins with some great diverse opportunities for canola and dairy, egg replacement, bars, beverages, 37 patents in canola. That's amazing. Those go through, and we've got innovation, a company with innovation protected to bring that value back to Canada. Nandika, new extraction technologies for protein extraction, high value applications, especially for canola meal. Like I said, the industry is shifting and the finding new opportunities for canola meal, either itself or as a contributor to further opportunities, like using it as a substrate for fungal protein. There's some or a biopolymer for coated fertilizers to help support sustainability. Some really neat opportunities here, and that's just coming out of Manitoba, right? Like we're a small and mighty province and really too small not to work together. And so very exciting that we've got a group here representing that. And so I would leave us with the challenge that everybody on this call, as part of this industry, like we talked about, we are pressured to step up and help the consumers in the world understand what we do and why. And so I would encourage all of you to take a moment sometime in the next year, I'll say, I'll make it a big target, and just have a conversation with someone that helps them understand the reality of agriculture and the innovation and sustainability approach that we take. So thank you all for your time this morning. Kevin, Nantika, Steve, really appreciated talking with you. And I wish you all an excellent day.